Welcome in to Studio A of our CHGO offices in rainy Chicago. I am your host, Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Alongside me, Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him on Twitter at ActorWall23. It's almost like we were just here an hour ago.
Yeah.
I guess 2 hours ago, because we were. We chatted with the KPW of the Flight Deck, the Blue Jays podcast, and our fellow CHGO White Sox viewer. And we chatted about the White Sox and Blue Jays. So if you are looking for some more White Sox Blue Jays after this conversation, make sure you check that out, the pregame show, all that stuff. I was going to say a naughty word. All that stuff should still be relevant until about 4 p.m. tomorrow, because the Sox didn't lose. They didn't win. They didn't play. The game was delayed and then postponed, and now we will have a doubleheader starting at 4 p.m. tomorrow, according to the White Sox on Twitter. Again, the game has been postponed due to rain. Game will be made up as a part of a straight doubleheader tomorrow, starting at 4:10 p.m. Central. Second game will begin approximately 30 to 45 minutes following the conclusion of the opener, but not before 7:10. Parking lots and gates will open tomorrow at 3:10. Fans with tickets, parking, and Huntington Bank Stadium Club passes to tomorrow's July 6th, originally scheduled 7:10 contest can attend both games of the doubleheader. Season ticket holders will receive a credit to their account for game tickets and parking for tonight's game, July 5th, and refunds for all other purchases, including resale places, should be initiated at the point of purchase. So there you go. We got a post game tomorrow to let you know all about the two games, and Vinnie
Post game
Duber,
in the second game.
Yes, we'll recap the two tomorrow, the whole series after both conclude, with Vinnie Duber, who will be live at Guaranteed Rate Field. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer, and you could also check out allchgo.com, because he's got two brand new posts talking about Rick Hahn and what he had to say on July 4th about this White Sox team, and we'll play a little bit of that for you later on in the show. And he's got a brand new article up about why Luis Robert has a change of heart about joining the Home Run Derby, and we'll be talking about that in just a second. And we'll also be hearing from Elvis Andrus, who talked to Vinny exclusively about Luis Robert being in the Home Run Derby. So it should be a fun, short show, and make sure you hit the thumbs up button. And we love Fred saying, best game played in weeks. I did love that Vinny was very, adamant, because Luis Robert seemed adamant that he didn't want to participate in the Home Run Derby. But it seems like he has been, swayed out of it. Luis Robert said that he doesn't consider himself a player that focuses on homers. I don't think he would be good there. But now, after his countrymen, I was going to say Luis Arozarena, Randy Arozarena and Adolis Garcia have convinced Luis Robert now to participate.
I mean, I guess he's their countryman, but Randy is now defected to Mexico. He's a Mexican citizen.
Yes.
I'm kidding.
No,
but
you're right.
Yes, but both of those guys are competing in the Home Run Derby. They're like, hey, man, you're the home run leader, except for Shohei, in the American League. You should come. You should be doing this. I commend those two for having him do the Home Run Derby. But, as I said in the pregame, not too jazzed on his chances to win the Home Run Derby, because he's not a necessary home run hitter, even though he hits home runs, if that makes any sense. In a setting like the Home Run Derby, where you're trying to hit home runs, I think that will mess him up, and it will make him, get out of his comfort zone if he's trying for home runs. And it'll be kind of boring if he's just doing that regular swing that he did last night. I mean, even though during the game,
Regular swing that went 450?
Yeah. I mean, because Home Run Derby, people want you to be breaking your back while you're swinging for the fences of 500, 550 feet. But Luis hits a 450 with a calm, relaxed swing, and I hope he keeps his same stroke there. He'll just satiate his two buddies, his comrades, and say, hey, man, I'm in. But also, I'm not out here giving my all. I'm not out here trying to win this Home Run Derby. If I win it, I win it. If I don't, smooth. I'll just go back and chill out in the hotel room.
We were in the Bay of Pigs with our Cuban comrades. Mercy.
It's pies hombres.
Let's look at the tournament bracket here, because it is interesting. You mentioned that Luis Robert Jr., quote-unquote, isn't a home run hitter, and you're basically paraphrasing he himself. Yet we look at the tournament bracket, and leading off, the number 1 overall seed will be Luis Robert Jr. Obviously, he leads the grouping in home runs. Pete Alonso and him both have 25, but I guess Robert gets the nod, and he'll be taking on Adley Rutschman of the Baltimore Orioles in the first round. Adolis Garcia is the 4th seed, and the 5th seed is Randy Arozarena. If Luis Robert Jr. wins, he will be taking on either Garcia or Arozarena, who talked him into joining the Home Run Derby, so that is a fun storyline to watch there. Mookie Betts is the 3rd seed. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is the 6th seed. Pete Alonso is the 2nd seed, and then the 7th seed is the hometown kid, Julio Rodriguez Jr. Is Pete Alonso your favorite just because he's won it so many damn times?
Exactly, yeah. Pete Alonso knows what it takes to win a home run derby. He's won 2 of them. And also, like, he knows how to be rested in between. And he is a home run hitter. Like, that's his gig. He's on the Mets, and what he does on the Mets is hit home runs and hit them really far. So I could see him easily winning this thing, especially with that bracket on the bottom side. He can get through and do his thing. But I would just think that one of those two, the 4 or 5 seed, those are the sleepers. Adolis or Randy Arozarena. We already know Randy Arozarena is ready for prime time. Every time he steps up I just want every home run, just put his hands over his thing. Like, Randy, race the time. Come on. He's like, nah. Every home run, even the wall scraper. It's just, yeah, buddy, I got it. So I might put some money down and good value on Randy Arozarena.
I like the pick for Garcia and Arozarena because we know one of the early storylines for Pete Alonso was he was winning more money than his actual contract.
Yes.
When he was winning the Home Run Derby. And Garcia, even though he's 30, is going to be under arbitration until he's 34. Like, I saw somebody be like, oh, this is all collusion to get Luis Robert Jr., Arozarena, and Garcia in the same outfield. But I'm like, none of them will be free agents until 2024 or 2027. We are now joined by Vinnie Duber, who just came over from Guaranteed Rate Field. You can follow Vinny on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer, and he's got 2 brand new articles up at allchgo.com. One about Rick Hahn and what he had to say yesterday, and we will dive into that a little bit later on. And then obviously the topic we're talking about now is Luis Robert joining the Home Run Derby. We've alluded to Randy Arozarena and Adolis Garcia's pushing nature to get Luis Robert Jr. into the Home Run Derby this year. But what did Luis say anything else? Like, he said he wasn't a home run hitter. So, I mean, does he still feel like he's not a home run hitter?
Well, I think it comes down to this, right? So imagine you were invited to go, not invited. Imagine you were, there's an activity in town. Mm-hmm. And it's like, hey, do you want to go do it? And it's like, not really, not my thing. And then you're like, hey, your 2 friends are from your hometown are going to do it too. You want to go do it? Oh, okay, I'll go hang out with them. That's basically the Cliff's Notes version of what happened today in the clubhouse with Luis Robert Jr. explaining his 180 on being in the Home Run Derby. But these are, Arozarena and Garcia, these are his countrymen, his fellow Cubans, and it's no secret to White Sox fans, obviously, how much that Cuban brotherhood and that Cuban connection means to the Cuban players who have been on the White Sox. It spreads league-wide, and I think this is, guys who text all the time, guys who are talking all the time, and it's like, hey, we should all do this together. We're all going to be at the All-Star game together. Let's do it together. So that's how it played out. I asked Luis, you said you don't think of yourself as just a home run hitter. How are you going to do at this thing? Are you going to be any good at it, kind of thing? And he said, I'm going to practice. So if we know anything about what the actual important baseball work produced over the course of this season, perhaps some silly home run derby work will produce a nice night for Luis on Monday.
Well, and they don't have to have Luis Robert Sr. fly out, like, because the announcement is the White Sox bullpen catcher.
Luis Sierra, who's one of the 2 bullpen catchers, one of the guys who is really the one of the hardest working men behind the scenes at the White Sox. These guys are him and Miguel Gonzalez, who's the other bullpen catcher, are out there. They're the first ones out the door in the morning, and they got to, pack everything up at night. They do a lot of work with the pitchers and the position players both. They throw a little BP sometimes, so it's going to be Luis Sierra, it seems like, throwing to Luis Robert Jr. On Monday in Seattle.
And that's where Miguel Gonzalez ended up, though.
Not the same Miguel Gonzalez. But
and that's awesome. See, Luis Robert competing in this gives this Sierra guy a trip to Seattle and a chance to kick it with all the rest of the All-Stars. I'm like, otherwise, Sierra's not going, right?
Well, Sierra lives there because she's married to Russell Wilson.
That's enough. But he lives in Denver now.
Oh, well,
They
were together when he was out there. We do see your super chat, Baseball Toss. Thank you for the support. $5 super chat there. Give him a goose honk, Steven. He bet his gym teacher, who was a Mets fan, that Robert would beat Alonso in the Derby for an All-Star shirt. We'll see if that matchup even happens.
High stakes.
Yeah,
high stakes when it comes to a student-teacher bet.
Right.
Yeah.
A nice shirt.
When I was in high school, we had when March Madness rolled around.
Mm-hmm.
I was the big sports guy. I was not necessarily being boastful about my ability to fill out a bracket, but it was kind of the assumption that the big fan sports guy, he's gonna be good at it. So I had a math teacher who every single class he would go through student by student, just ask them the silliest stuff: which mascot would win in a fight, which state would you rather live in, what color do you like better, with the express goal of having a bracket that would be better than mine. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did he beat you?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
That's how the NCAA tournament
It
usually
always
works
does.
out, isn't it? Yep.
Yeah, us overanalyzing everything.
Uh-huh.
Oh, man, they played this way in December and blah, blah, blah. And somebody in April's like, that's the better team. Put them on.
My favorite.
That team has got blue color. I love blue. Keep on going.
SNL weekend update was around 2007 or 2008, and they were I think it was Tina Fey or Amy Poehler, and they were like, here's the first person to ever have a perfect bracket. And they're like, how'd you pick all the matchups? And they're like, well, I like Bulldogs. So I picked the blue team every single time. Good luck, Baseball Tossed, and we'll see what happens. I'm just excited that if Luis does get to advance, he's either facing Randy or Adolis Garcia.
That'll make it fun.
So he's got to make it fun.
Question.
He's got to show up and beat Adley Rutschman.
I don't know the rules. I know that right there, what you showed us, the tournament bracket, is based upon today's home run totals. Is it frozen or is it actually fluid?
It's frozen. They did a whole hour-long show on ESPN for this. I was shocked that it lasted that long.
That's way too long.
I guess it gave
I
us
didn't even
something
know
to do
about it.
during the rain delay. They did a whole bracket release show kind of thing where they're breaking down the seeds and all of that. And I'm like, it's a little over the top, but whatever. I'm sure someone tuned in and enjoyed that.
The Home Run Derby bracket reveal. I guess they just
Selection Wednesday.
it's just picked by who's hit the most homers.
I believe someone was explaining it to me. It's the most homers, and then if there was a tie, it's the most homers since June 1st or something like that.
Of course, Luis.
Yeah, and Luis has been red hot, so there you go. He's the number 1 seed, and he's the first White Sox to participate in the event since Todd Frazier in 2016. And again, the other people, Frank Thomas in 94, Carlton Fisk in 85, J.D., Jermaine Dye in 2006. Then you also had Frank pop up again in 1995, Paul Konerko in 2002, and again, Todd Frazier in 2016, and now Luis Robert in 2023. So a long, not illustrious history of the White Sox
Only
in the
one
Home
winner.
Run Derby. Only one winner. Frank in Three Rivers, right?
Correct. I believe so.
So we'll see if Luis can add another one to the White Sox trophy case. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to go to Vinnie Duber, who was at the White Sox clubhouse, even though they didn't play a game, and chatted with Elvis Andrus. And he also talked about the pressure and how it's on Luis Robert in the White Sox clubhouse to win the Home Run Derby. We'll hear from Elvis Andrus and more, too, about the vibe of what the clubhouse is feeling this July, especially heading towards the August 1st deadline. And after we hear from Elvis Andrus, we'll hear from Rick Hahn. Want to let you know, though, about Shady Rays. It's raining right now, but tomorrow is going to be a beautiful day for a doubleheader of baseball. So take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with the warm weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. They have durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection program in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, it tells us that they will send you a brand new pair. No questions asked. You can wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after your purchase. And if you don't love your Shady Rays, you can exchange them for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back. Exclusive for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and go to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized shades. Try for yourself. These shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Almost read the 4th of July sale, but that would be wrong because it's the 5th of July and not the 4th, right? All right, want to let you guys know.
Well explained.
Yeah, thank you. Also want to let you know about our friends over at Bird Dogs, our new friends over at Bird Dogs. We're excited to check out the new swag that they're sending over to the CHGO offices because mainly they make you look good. They are a stretch khaki short designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. And I've been bashed here before wearing shorts by some of our listeners, and we've seen Sam pop up, so he's not been totally turned off by my legs. But, my legs are sculpted. And as somebody who has nice gams, I'd like to show them off. And Bird Dogs allows me to do that because they do exactly the same thing that, a high brand, I don't know if I could say this. Anyways, I have shorts that are like old khaki shorts with a button, a zipper, right? Just clunky. It sits weird when you sit down.
Yes.
Bird Dogs is made out of a cloud knit fabric that looks just like khakis but stretches to give you a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. And they use an anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. So go to birddogs.com/CHGO or enter promo code CHGO for a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/CHGO or promo code CHGO for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off, we promise you. And again, code CHGO over at birddogs.com/CHGO.
As an older dude, 44 years old, we used to wear our shorts like past our knees, and I think, still up until last year I did that. But I know the ladies and the gentlemen like the gam showing, the above knee stuff, the thigh action. So
yeah,
the Bird Dogs are going to work out perfectly for us.
I was when I was a child, the first pair of shorts I remember like wearing that are actually not like baby shorts, were shorts that went down to my shins. And I'm really glad we've gone away from that. That's like an inseam of 14, and I think I filled out on my Bird Dogs thing an inseam of 6. So we're adults now, folks.
Exactly.
It's okay to show a little bit of skin.
They're called shorts, not cargo, not like what are those things called, capri pants,
right?
Which we used to wear, but flooding capri pants.
Yeah, right. And there's a flood watch.
Oh
folks.
my goodness!
Check your basements.
I thought you were going to say. Can I say Jinko? Jinko, that one? That's
no.
what the one you're going to say?
No,
we used to wear those big, huge bell-bottom ass pants. Ugh. We were dumb in the 90s.
We're going to go to Vinny's interview with Elvis. Does Elvis Andrus wear shorts?
I mean, yeah.
Maybe? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
We should tell
Not
him
on the field, though.
You should tell him about Bird Dogs.
I might have to.
You might have to. We're going to go to Vinny's interview with Elvis Andrus from the White Sox clubhouse, and they lead off talking about Luis Robert. But, of course, and you'll hear from Elvis Andrus about this team's vibe heading into July and heading towards the trade deadline.
How's Luis going to do in the Derby, do you think?
He's better do good.
Some pressure on him from you guys?
Probably. Well, no, not from us. We know he's gonna do pretty good. I mean, if he just swing the same way he's swinging in the game, he's gonna have no problem hitting like 100 homers out there. So, but no, we did talk a little bit and trying to get him a nice, coach that throw him. That's very important. But no, we know he's gonna do good.
What's it been like watching him this year?
Unbelievable, man. I think that, it's something that not only us, the whole organization, the whole city has been waiting. Everybody knows how talented he is, and for him, it's been, the injuries that he got the first 2-3 seasons. So, for him to be healthy and doing this is, what we all knew he was capable of. And, I don't think he hasn't stopped. Stay healthy. He can do this every single year.
Obviously, last year when you showed up, he was dealing with injuries and stuff like that. But have you noticed even a difference between early this year and to this point now with some of the work that he's been doing?
Yeah, 100%. I think that he's growing, as an adult, as a man, and it's going to happen. I think, still super young, and, you still figure it out. He just regular life, basic stuff. But he's really comfortable. He seems really comfortable this year. I think that he put a really good job being healthy in the offseason, helped him a lot. And, his mindset this year has been training. It was really good. He keep his routine every single day. And I think if he can continue to do that, he's just going to continue to do amazing things in the field.
You guys obviously know what your record is and stuff like that, but how do you kind of see where this team can go from here after what's been kind of a tough start for you guys?
Yeah, no, we talk about it. We've seen it. I think that we're still playing hard. There's a lot of games we're losing, towards the end of the game. So I think it's just, a few tweaks. But, offensively, we've been doing for the past, a couple weeks. The team is scoring more, creating more opportunities. So, I think for us, it's just to, there's a little things that we need to fix and correct. And, we're just working on those and then finish this first half and then, be ready for the second one.
Getting closer to the trade deadline, how important is it when the front office kind of tries to keep the distractions away from you guys and keep that stuff kind of out of your zone so you guys can focus on playing?
Yeah, that's every year is going to be the same, regardless. I think that for us, it's out of our power, who somebody get traded or not. I hope no, because I feel, that we're going to make it happen, for the rest of this year. I know base baseball is ahead of us, so I hope they don't disrupt the team. But as for the front office, I have to stop, or we have to stop thinking about that and just concentrate and doing our job.
You've been on plenty of teams when guys do kind of go away in a situation like that, via trade in the middle of the year. What kind of effect can that have on a clubhouse? Oh,
it's huge, man. When you start trading guys, you're pretty much saying that, you're not in the race, I think that we have, the pieces in here, like you mentioned, haven't been what we know we're going to be. There's a lot of guys, including myself, that, we haven't get it going. It's only, a few guys that's actually holding us, like Luis, Benny, Berger, pretty much, and Eloy. Pretty much that's a percentage of, they're taking care of the percentage of the offense. So that's what I keep saying, if we stick around, we're hanging in there, I'll get going. The rest of the guy will get going, and we know the pitching and the bullpen, they'll get back on track. So I think that, the best, baseball of this scene is coming ahead, and, hopefully they don't disrupt that.
You seeing TA starting to turn things around for him?
100%.
Yeah.
I forget about TA for sure. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's been swinging the bat for the past week much better, and we know he can turn everything, in 2 weeks, a month. He's done his whole career. So, that's what I'm saying. Like, even with, a lot of key guys not, get it going, we're still there. We know our division is being weak, but, touche, it's a good thing, You never know what can happen. I always say that no matter how you get there, is to get there to the postseason, and then after that, anyone can take it. So that's the way I see it, and, I'm always going to be very hopeful about, making it to the postseason.
Yeah, you're voicing your belief. Do you sense that everybody shares that same belief, that you guys can turn this around even this late in the year?
Yeah, 100%, man. That's one of the things that I always try to tell him. We cannot do anything. What's happened is in the past. You have to just keep working hard, keep preparing, and just do the, little adjustment that we know that we need to do as a team to be in the postseason and be contending. So I think everybody knows that. We've been playing for 2-3 months so far. So, as a team, we've been, through the struggle together, and then it's very important, to learn, and to do the right thing. So I think that, the struggle part is about to go by, and the good thing is ahead of us. So.
What's the message from Pedro been? Has that been something that has kind of been bought into by the guys in here, do you think?
Yeah, he's been very consistent, and I love that message. He's not gonna give up on us. So he just won that from us. He just don't want, nobody give up on, our hope and our dream, which is, first one is make it, win the division. So I haven't. I know a lot of guys haven't. So as long as we hold hard, we hold it tight to that. Anything can happen. We're only 7 games ahead, and there's, over 70 games, for the season. So, like I say, very lucky that our division is going the way it's going, and then more opportunity for us. So, we have to believe it. We have to believe that we're going to do it. It's going to make it happen, and then, just do that in the field for sure.
And that's what you get when you show up to the White Sox clubhouse and there's not a game. You get exclusive interviews.
You can get that when there's games too.
That's
also,
true,
yeah.
And you have. And you can go check out Vinny's interviews with Jake Berger and Lucas Giolito in the third base dugout, where he had that exclusivity. But Vinny keeps bringing the exclusivity. So shout out to Vinny for that. I thought there were some interesting things in there. Obviously, the Luis Roberts stuff is good color. we know that Luis Robert is very good at baseball, and we expect him to do good things. I don't think anyone's going to be like, I think Luis is going to stink at this. I know you have a little bit of worries, but, a lot of good color there from Elvis Andrus.
100 home runs, Elvis is predicting for Luis in the home run derby.
I did not hear that clear.
He says he's going to hit 100. That's a lot.
That's more. So the record's 91. It's only 9 more.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wouldn't put that down as a solid prediction, but he did say if he keeps swinging like he's swinging, he'll hit 100.
I get it. It's and
he's on a tear.
Inflammatory. What's the word? I get he's being over exaggerated. Facetious.
Yeah.
It's not a crazy number. He didn't say like 200.
I mean, it's a lot of swings.
It is, but
it's a lot of tiring swings.
He's got 6 tools.
I want him to get beat by Adley Rutschman in the first round.
Don't be like that. That's no fun. That's a fun-hating way of saying things.
Well, it's not sunny out, so Herbie Sunshine's
not here. Herbie Rain Cloud.
Yeah.
He can, if he feels the need
Herbie
to
Flood Watch.
To, like, no one says, man, that home run derby guy, got to watch out for him. Let's pay him a lot of money. It doesn't.
The White Sox have already paid him.
It doesn't increase Luis Roberts' money. It doesn't increase the White Sox futures. I want him to have a good time while he's out in Seattle.
It's just supposed to be fun to watch. Herb.
Yeah. And I want Adley Rutschman to make it look fun on that side. I don't even know what side Adley's going to be swinging on. I hope he's swinging on his left side.
They showed a graphic during the bracket reveal show in which there have not been many switch hitters in the home run derby over the years. There was a very short list. It was less than 10.
Bobby Abreu was a switch, right?
It was less than 10 that they had on there.
I think Bobby just spoke. Didn't he just do left-handed? I know we only did left-handed in the home run derby. He might have been a switch hitter, but I think he only did left-handed hitting in the home run derby.
He was bat left, throw right.
But I'm a big proponent of him just doing his regular swing, not getting out of his comfort zone.
That's what he said.
And if he does that, yes, he could hit 100 home runs. That's the thing, though. That whole energy, that whole atmosphere, especially with his compadres there, cheering him on, giving him the Gatorade. Hey, man, you can hit more home runs than this, than the timeouts and such. I just don't want him to get caught up in the I want to win the home run derby thing. I just like, hey, my pitcher is throwing my pitch. I'm crushing it to center or left field, and whatever happens, happens. This is just extra practice for me, and treat it as such.
I haven't delved into the data per se. I'm sure someone did over time, but there's a narrative, whether true or false, that the home run derby comes with the risk of screwing you up through the second half. My opinion on it would be that's probably vastly overblown. Right. But because of that narrative, questions were asked to both Luis and Pedro Grifol about that, and Luis said, he's not worried about this screwing up his swing because he's not going to go out there and try to pull everything. Perfect. Pedro said, hey, I would be concerned if Luis was the kind of guy who I thought he was going to change his swing for this, but he doesn't think that the swing is going to change. And so I guess if you're just going up there, it's just another round of batting practice if you're not really trying to do anything different than you would be on a normal day.
And yesterday's game kind of tells me that he's in a real groove. Not the home run necessarily. That was beautiful. But he had a 2-2 pitch or a 3-2 pitch that was just below the strike zone. He spit on it. I was like, there we are. Early in the year, he would have flailed at that pitch and would have looked silly doing it. Now he's seeing the balls deeper, and I think the home runs are coming because he's a natural athlete and because he's seeing the ball longer. The pitch recognition work he's been doing with the hitting coaches and Pedro Grifol is working out so well, and that's why you see 24 home runs, because he's seeing the ball so deep. He knew that was a hanging slider immediately, and he knew to post up after it because he knew, like, after I touch it, it's gone. I'm Luis Robert. Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that, I think, Sunday, or when he was announced as an all-star reserve, is just he's truly honed in on the fastball. And you look at the run value by pitch, him against the slider, it's a 0 run value, so he's not negative, he's not positive, but against the fastball, he's like a plus 13. And we saw that with Vlad Guerrero Jr. And KPW's hanging out in the chat in 2021. It was just he really wasn't missing any fastball. And if you threw him a fastball, it's kind of like what TA was doing in 2019, 2020, 2021. If you throw him a certain fastball, it's going to go into right field for a single. If you throw Luis Robert a hanging slider and he's not fooled, he's probably going to sit back on it and hit it 450 feet and stare at it. Incredible stuff. And hopefully he's able to keep that gas tank, have that sixth tool of stamina, power, speed, contact, all that good stuff. And I would love to see if he hit him to win the home run derby. I mean, didn't ruin Frank Thomas.
I mean,
He was to the Hall of Fame.
that's a 1 of 1.
He was a sixth tool player.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's the one who brought that up, but he wasn't a 6-tool player. He only brought the hit tool and the home run tool.
Hey, the first contact.
I mean,
the
hit
tool,
and
tool,
home run. That's it.
But the first hit was a triple. He showed the speed. Just the Rutschman stuff too. No switch hitter ever won, like you said. Ruben Sierra did share the Derby crown with Eric Davis in 1989, which is surprising because Ruben Sierra was in MVP baseball 2005. Right? So
really old.
He's old.
Yeah. He played until he was like 40 plus.
Lance Berkman is the only other to make the finals in 2004, and this will be the second straight Derby, as KPW mentions. Jose Ramirez was a part of the home run derby, and Rutschman's a catcher. No catcher has ever won a home run derby. So,
and Rutschman is kind of, I think he went to Oregon State. I don't know, he's from Oregon, so he's going back to Pacific Northwest, so he'll have a big time cheering section there for him.
It's true. He's from Oregon, Portland. So there's no baseball team. So
Pickles,
probably a Mariner fan. All right, let's move. Pickles.
Portland
Portland Pickles.
Yeah,
got you. All right,
minor league team.
The one thing I wanted to follow up though with Elvis Andrus, he says it's small fix and tweaks that they really need to focus on. He mentions that there's a lot of close games that they're getting into, but not a lot of those close games that they're able to win. And I remember last year, too, he called it the most talented locker room he's ever been. And it does still seem like there is a little bit of confidence hanging around in there. So I don't know. I think part of that is because of Pedro. And what he said there was, we know he's not going to give up on us. And we've seen that with TA, to a lot of people's frustration. We saw that with Luis Robert Jr., and obviously that has paid off. I mean, what do you guys make of that narrative coming from Elvis that, Pedro's not going to give up on us and it's just small tweaks and fixes away?
Well, I mean, Elvis talked about it, the reality of what the standings are. If math has buried this team already, you probably wouldn't be hearing a lot of talk like that. But they have, as much of a Hail Mary as it possibly is, they have a chance. And so while everybody else from the outside can look at the 3 months of baseball they've played and pretty much guess what's going to happen, the team has it in their hands, in their power, to make the unlikely into reality.
Exactly.
Because unlikely doesn't mean impossible. And the way that the American League Central has played out this year, it might be unlikely that a team that's 13 games under 500 is going to make the kind of run that vaults them to the top of that division, but it's not impossible. And so the only way that it could happen, the only way that it is possible, is if those guys in the clubhouse don't give up and still believe that it can happen and trust in their talent and their ability. Elvis is saying one of these days, it's going to click for those of us that it hasn't clicked yet. And 99% of the people that hear that are going to roll their eyes and say, we've been sitting around waiting for this for more than 3 months now. And that's fine. That's a reaction that's based on what you've seen through 80-some games. But if they still believe that it's going to happen, it gives it a chance, as unlikely as it might be, to happen. And these goals that they set for themselves are still technically within reach, again, as unlikely as that might seem. They're the only ones that need to think that it's possible. Yep. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what everybody else thinks because they're the ones that have to go out and do it.
They just need a reason to believe, huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What a transition.
And go to allchgo.com.
Yeah, right.
I think that I don't usually like to do the lay person's job to a sports person's job because I think the jobs are so different, especially a professional sports person's job. But I think this has merit. When you are at home listening or watching this, have a boss that's just not believing you. You struggle on something and they're over your head and they're just micromanaging you and you get put down or something like that. Morale's not going to be good. The morale's going to be low. It's going to be like, oh, God, I already got to do my job, but now I got this guy looking at me, guy or girl looking at me, doing my job and not believing that I can do my job as a grown person. You gave me the job. Why don't you let me do my job? I feel like that is the same in Major League clubhouses where Pedro, like you said, two faults of most White Sox fans has given Tim a lot of rope, a lot of extra stuff that some of us don't think he deserved this year, but Pedro's like he's had a career full of great moments where he deserves this extra long patience from him. And I think it's starting to show up because Tim is hitting the ball with authority the last couple games. And so Elvis talking about that says that, hey, yes, you guys out there in the outside world might not believe in us, but the people in this clubhouse believe in ourselves. And it starts with our leader, Pedro Grifol, saying, hey, guys, I'm going to stick with you as long as I can, and I still believe in you, and just pay off some of that belief. And I think the players are going to be like, okay, let's finally start paying off some of this belief that Pedro has in us and the confidence that he has in all of us individual players.
Well, and if it doesn't happen soon, they just might not get that chance because some guys might get traded off a team, which we'll talk about. Pedro might believe in them, but they also might still be feeling the pressure of the outside, pressures of just baseball in general. So we'll take a break and we'll get into, reasons to believe, pressure cookers, and maybe some pressing if that is a thing with the Sox coming up. But feel free to jump in and comment, Herb.
All right.
I got you, man.
The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve, helping manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future.
Sean thought he was going to get a spot start, but
I guess not.
I tested the arm out before the show, and I'm good to go. I'm good to go, Coach. ComEd offers a wide variety of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across the territory here in the land o' Lincoln. ComEd also offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunities, like those for HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes.
Hey, Vinny, how does that work?
Herb, what a valid and timely question. An authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. These can be done in person or virtually and last approximately 2 hours. Within 3 to 4 weeks, customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on immediately. Each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, project cost, potential incentives, and simple payback. If you, Herb, anyone else, own a business, don't wait. Here is the Chicago Transit Authority, highlighted in yellow for me to easily see. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy-saving tips, lighting incentives, or to schedule your free facility assessment, go to ComEd.com/poweringbiz.
Vinny, did you say ComEd.com/poweringbiz?
I did say ComEd.com/poweringbiz. That ends in a Z. Zzz. So schedule it today.
Today.
Another thing that the foreigners say, Zed instead of Z.
Yeah, that's
weird.
It's wrong. Are you pro color with a U or no?
To each their own.
Yes.
To each their own.
All right.
If you're at home listening, because it is the 50th anniversary this year, if you are at home listening to Dark Side of the Moon on vinyl, you'll flip it over. You'll see that song is called Any Color You'd Like, not Any Color You'd Like. So, you just got to roll with the punches.
Well, it's David Gilmour.
Yeah, exactly.
People have told me, and Courtney, my fiance, who was in the chat, told me that goes with, the Wizard of Oz?
Dark Side of the Moon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like you play it and it's supposed to be synced up.
Supposed to sync up, yeah. Okay. I haven't done Dark Side of the Moon and Wizard of Oz. I have done Dark Side of the Moon and the first of the new Star Wars movies, Force Awakens, Episode 7. The suggestion online, the theory by many, is that it was purposefully edited to Dark Side of the Moon because of the history of people trying to sync up albums and movies that obviously were not made in conjunction with one another. The thought here was that it was purposefully edited to have those little beats throughout.
So it worked?
I've done it twice. First time, it seemed to work great. I remember thinking that it was so cool, and I was very happy I did it. Second time, it didn't seem to work, and I got very frustrated very fast.
That seems like a lot of work for somebody to do.
It does. You're right.
But not even promote it.
Right.
It's
a secret. It's a fun find.
They have a secret person on the staff that is person who syncs up movie to Dark Side of Moon.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Every movie set should have that person.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's a secret. You just don't know what album they're syncing it up to. I mean, most of them are synced up to Tusk, but again,
most movies. That's true. Most movies ever made.
Nobody cares about Tusk. We got to take we're still in the middle of that ad break.
Yeah.
Herb's Drinking Beer. CHGO, supported by Goose Island Beer Company. Chicago's beer since 1988. Their beer roster includes the lovely 312 wheat ale that Herb is drinking. It also includes the Full Pocket Pills, the Goose IPA, and the Tropical Beer Hug IPA series. And go check out the Beer Hug IPA series at your local liquor store, your grocery store. They got the Tropical Beer Hug, they got the Neon Beer Hug, they got the Juicy, and they got the Hazy IPA in a little sampler there. So you could try out all those delicious Imperial IPAs from Goose Island. And of course, we have the event coming up, not one, but two, the Crosstown Takeovers with our friends over at Goose Island. First one's on July 26th. You can get a meetup with us at 5:30 at Gaelic Park, the bar at Gaelic Park, and then you get a bus transportation there and back to Oak Forest, and you also get a ticket to the game and a shirt, either the north or south side. You get your choice, and again, it is for a Cubs Sox game. So come join us and Goose Island out at the Carrick Pub in Oak Forest. Grab an ultra fresh brewery exclusive beer at Goose Island's original brew house on Clybourne Avenue in Lincoln Park, or from their tap room in Fulton Street in Westtown. Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer. Also want to let you know about our friends over at FOCO. The lovely bobbleheads donated over on that side. The Southpaw and TA ones were donated by our friends over at FOCO. So go show them some love at FOCO.com or click the link in the description below. For all non-presale items, use the promo code CHGO for 10% off. Since there is no White Sox game, why not spend your night scrolling FOCO.com and checking out all their hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between, like Aloha shirts, straw hats, polos, bags, everything you need for a baseball game. So get fitted in the best sports gear around at FOCO.com or click the link in the description below. Again, all non-presale items, use the promo code CHGO for 10% off. Okay, so reason to believe, check out Vinny's article talking about what Rick Hahn had to say on the fourth, and I like the boss analogy that you brought up, Herb, how Pedro believes in his guys. But again, Rick Hahn's kind of pulling the trigger here. If Rick Hahn doesn't like what he sees over the next month, he could break all of this up, and Pedro believing in these guys really might not matter, because again, Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams pulls the strings on the roster. Do we feel like there is maybe pressure building on this month? Like, can you feel pressure? Because even Rick, in the clip that we're going to play, he talked about, we'll see how they go out and play tonight. And then, of course, as we know, they lost. So again, they need to go like 44-31 to even go 88-8 or 81-81 this year. So a lot of pressure to start winning a lot and a lot more series.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody has kind of figured out that it seems like the sand has run out of the hourglass here. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the only thing that probably saves them now is what he said he wasn't going to call for, which is fine. He shouldn't be putting that kind of pressure on the team. But, they're going to need to win, like he said, 10 of 14 or 10 in a row or, 12 of whatever. I mean, they're 13 games under 500. They could win this terrible division at around 500. Right. They're not going to win it at 13 games under 500. They're a fourth-place team right now in a very bad division. So I think what we were expecting to maybe hear from Rick yesterday was that a decision had been reached, and a decision might have been reached. He just wasn't saying that for everybody to hear, and he basically gave the reason as to why he wasn't going to say anything, which is, by the way, reflected in what Elvis said, right? Elvis was saying, we hope they don't break this up. Please don't break this up to the front office, because they have the belief that they are going to be able to pull off this unlikely but not impossible thing. That being said, as people who look at this from the outside, as people who analyze what has happened and what is likely to happen, it seems like they're going to be sellers at the trade deadline.
Well, why don't we play Rick's comments and then have you analyze it and see if you feel like they are going to be sellers or not. Let's hear from Rick Hahn, and this was shot by Vinny yesterday, but Rick kind of goes into the 10 and the 14 games and what the Sox need to do to put themselves to possibly be buyers or sellers or have more clarity on that situation.
How do you assess the state of the team right now, and what does it mean going forward in these weeks leading up to August 1?
Obviously, we got big decisions to make by the end of this month or August 1st. I've seen quotes from players. I've heard from players directly. Pedro and the coaches have heard from players directly that their priority and focus is getting things right here and figuring out a way for us to win the division and then do some damage in the postseason. I or any of us in baseball ops isn't going to do anything to take the focus away from that by saying, this is our direction, this is what we're doing, this is where we're committed. And we're going to do everything in our power to continue to support the guys that want to get this thing right. And hopefully that starts today. I know I'm fairly sure we have the best record in the division since May 1st, but at the same time, that's only been a couple of games over 500, I believe, which obviously hasn't made up for the deficit we carved for ourselves in April. So it's good to see the commitment. It's good to see, to an extent, the results since May 1. But we obviously have a fair amount of work still to do ahead of us.
You're doing 6, 7 in a row. You need to go on a streak like that. It's kind of...
It'd be nice, yeah. Can we do that? What's the question? Like, do we want to win 6 in a row? Yes, absolutely. Maybe even 7 going.
You kind of
into
need
break.
to do that. I mean, is
Do we need to do
winning
that?
series enough at this point when you're 20 under?
It hasn't proven to be enough yet. I mean, we've won a decent amount of series the last 2 months, but it hasn't been proven to be enough yet. I'm not going to, put a marker in the sand and say we need to rattle off 10 out of 14 or we're doing this. But at the same time, we can see the calendar, we can see the games back, and you want to have a reason to believe that this thing's going to get right between now and August 1.
The last time you talked maybe about 2 different evaluations, the ability to win the division and the ability to make noise in the playoffs. How have those 2 separate evaluations gone? Obviously, the division standings are what they are,
Right.
but the latter...
I mean, that's only been like 10 days ago we had that conversation. I think it's more what I was talking about that day is winning the division is our path in, but the goals have always been higher. Given the deficit that we created for ourselves early in the season, I do think that if we manage to win this division, it's going to be the result of us going on a stretch of playing pretty damn good baseball, which should in turn give us confidence that we're going to be able to do some damage in October. But again, that first thing has to happen, and that's us playing better baseball and starting to cut in this deficit and ideally take the lead at some point.
And there's not much time in which to do that.
Well, we got about half a season to do it, but we have to make a pretty major decision in the next month.
Yeah, and it's even less than half a season. I mean,
Yeah,
75
and that
games
I
now
think
at
was
this
my.
point, yeah.
I think that was my follow up right after he said that was basically like, but the trade deadline's August 1st, so that's the time you're going to need to see it. Who knows? And we keep talking about they have these many different paths they can go on. They don't have to go get rid of everybody, nor do they have to go out and buy a bunch of all-stars. Like there is a ton of stuff in the middle of that, and one of those things in the middle is probably the most likely thing to happen, where it's like, yeah, if there's an expiring contract, that kind of thing, that player might be more likely to be traded. If Rick Hahn gets a phone call and it's like, we would like to give you several top prospects for player X, he's probably going to go, yeah, because that helps them in the long run.
Is player X even Luis Robert Jr.? Like that's the one
There's
thing.
a reason I said player X and not a specific guy, because I didn't really want to go through every single player. But yeah, they're going to. He said they're going to do the thing that's best for the long-term health of the organization. I can confidently tell you that keeping Luis Robert Jr. is best for the long-term health of the organization.
I agree with that for sure, and that's why I'm advocating for Tim and Lynn and Gio and Graveman and Kelly, some of these guys that I feel like are replaceable, and for the 2024 team. But the reason to believe was brought up there by Rick Hahn. I don't know if you have any more reasons to believe in this team. There was another place I wanted to go with this. Shoot.
That's all right, but I'll answer that one first. If he had a reason to believe going into the Oakland series last week, it's crushed. Losing 2 out of 3 to the worst team in baseball tells me all I need to know if I'm a evaluator of talent and a person that needs to say, okay, are we going for it or we're not? Yes, the games are only 7. They're only 7 games behind, but then you have to factor in who are they playing? 2 versus Toronto, 2 versus St. Louis, or 3 versus St. Louis, who was bad this year, but I don't think they'll be continuing to be bad this year because they're the Cardinals. Then after the break, you got a trip to Atlanta, a trip to New York, a trip to Minnesota. Tough. I mean, New York's not playing, the Mets are not playing as they want to, but we all know those damn Atlanta Braves are playing as hot as you can. They got 8 all-stars in the game right now. Right. Like, how is that going to be a good thing for the White Sox? Like, the games coming down to that really deadline point of August 1st are not great for the White Sox. It's going to be just pushing them more towards trading. And I hope Rick, and through Vinny's article and from what he said right there, I think he's solidly in team cell. He just doesn't want to give away too much.
Right.
And so he can be having a little bit leverage with these people he's talking to. Say, hey, man, we can keep this person if you're not really ready to go. But in essence, he's like, anybody who is on an expiring deal, anybody who can't be used for the future, they might have to go.
And you bring up the future of the organization quote, and you also talk too about like how serious of contenders can they be. I do think about that as well. It's just like, you know, if they are in a position to be trading, it doesn't make them more serious of contenders, right? Like that's the one process that we are going to have to find out more from Rick probably when the trade deadline's over or once we get closer to the trade deadline is what does that White Sox future look like, or how does he view the White Sox now currently? Because if they're not contenders, is it going to take them a year to get back into contention? Is it going to take them 2 years to get back into contention? Like now it's resetting that timeline for the White Sox because it doesn't seem like, you know, there's a ton of confidence coming from the front office in the current group.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far at all. In fact, I can see.
Wouldn't they be buying if he had more confidence? I guess.
Well, buying for what? Confidence in what? I mean, they're 13 games below 500. So basically, you're saying I could be confident that this team's going to take off starting tomorrow, but they're saddled with 13 games worse than everybody else. Let's say, you know what I mean? So, I think there's nothing wrong with their confidence in the group. I mean, I bet you ask him, what do you think Yoán Moncada can do in 2024? It's probably a positive answer compared to what do you think Yoán Moncada can do right now? Well, he can't play right now. He's hurt.
But why have a positive answer if you don't have a realistic outlook on what he can be right now? I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, that's the thing is that does feel like blind optimism.
I do not believe that they have given up in this core one bit. I think that there are certain pieces that they might take out because they're going to be in an expiring deal. You know, maybe Lucas Giolito gets traded because he's going to go to free agency next year. You frequently bring up Tim Anderson's club control ending after next season. So maybe they're planning for a future past 2024 that does not include Tim Anderson, perhaps. But I don't think that they look out and say, we need to scrap all of this, like a lot of fans are. And I understand because the results are what the results are. But I think they think Eloy is a very good player. Robert, obviously, is a very good player. I think they have confidence in Benintendi and Tim Anderson and, who am I forgetting here? Colas. You know, I think that, and certainly Cease and Kopech.
Vaughn.
You know, Vaughn, absolutely. Yeah. So that's a lot of players that I just listed off. Now, it doesn't mean there's not going to be needs and holes going into the offseason. This roster will change because it has to, because certain guys are not going to be a part of it anymore. But I think that they can look toward 2024 if they decide to sell here at the deadline and say, we have work to do, absolutely, but we don't need to go out and get a brand new team.
Well, 7's the big one, right? I mean, like I feel like that would be the real signal of the core, right, is if they do get that certain trade package to ship Tim Anderson off at this deadline, I feel like that would at least signal I mean, that would signal, I think, the end of the core, right? Because Tim Anderson was such an important part. The core probably changes, but like again, like the true core was Abreu, Anderson, Grandal, Robert, Moncada, and now that's changing with Abreu, Anderson, and likely Grandal gone after this year, where it's Robert, Eloy, Vaughn,
etc.
Yeah. Right, but I guess my point is to answer your question that they still see that as a foundation on which a contender can happen as next year. Yeah, like they're not planning on coming out, I don't think, and saying, all right, guys, we're going to dial this back. We're going to spin this back again. It's going to be a year or a 2-year process. No, they're going to try to compete for a championship in 2024. It's not saying that my opinion is that they are going to be able to do that, but I believe that's what they think that they are going to be in 2024.
And no offense to Rick, but I hope he and Kenny are not the people who are doing it again. I know that's not true. Yeah. Putting it out there just so the universe can hear me.
That's the thing is I support the adventure to move on from Tim and to see if this core could be successful with Luis Robert being the main piece, right? I do think especially in the AL Central, they could make the playoffs next year without Tim Anderson being on the team, Lucas Giolito, Lance Lynn. Like, I think that they can lose a decent amount of people and still be competitive in the AL Central. I just don't know about the actual contender part, and that's the one thing that will be interesting to see.
And I think that is what we're going to be talking about all winter.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I think they'll probably be at the end of this season at a point where they're teetering on that, right? And it depends on what they go do, because we've already talked about they're going to have to go get 3 starting pitchers. We've already talked about they're going to need a second baseman. If Tim Anderson is one of the players traded this month, they're going to need a shortstop. They can't go out and say, all right, Lenin Sosa, have at it. You know, that doesn't seem like the thing a contender would be doing. So there's going to be a lot riding on this winter.
Let's say Lucas is, and I understand that the winter is obviously going to be important too, but the AL Central kind of just leaves a ton open at mercy.
Cup people did something.
They just tied the
They are
games.
also 7.5 games back in the
You wouldn't
Central.
know it.
No, you would not know it. Anyways, I forgot what I was talking about.
It's fine.
You're all good, Cody. It's all good.
No, but I'm thinking that
What was I talking about?
I don't know. But
Well, like them competing in 2024.
Yeah.
Like I think if they don't trade Tim
yeah.
by the deadline and we see a similar media scrum with Rick being like, oh, we're disappointed we couldn't do anything, or something along the lines, like we could still again be following this team until the end of the year, until they're truly knocked out, because the AL Central is giving them that opportunity.
Oh, absolutely, that could happen. But they could trade guys, and that could happen.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm
Yeah,
thinking,
well, if they only trade Lucas, right?
They could trade 4 guys, and that could happen. That's what this division has been.
and
like.
I'm telling you too that Tim, I expect him on August 1st when Rick meets the media, if they're at home.
They're in Texas.
Okay,
I believe.
then when he comes back or when he has the scrum, Tim's going to be part of the team. I'm pretty sure about that, because the bad play, the contract, who's checking for him. So I expect him to still be in this team. And like I said before, trading Lucas Giolito doesn't stop them from re-signing him in the offseason. And they're going to need to look for him specifically and other starting pitchers, because they were going to have 3 spots to fill. So, yeah, having him on the team is, I think, valuable for the White Sox next year. Lucas Giolito specifically needs to be on this White Sox team next year.
I would be surprised if they gave him the money that he will command on the market.
Then they're going to give other bad pitchers the same money.
They're going to give less. They're going to give 3 guys 1-year deals instead of giving 1 guy a 5-year deal. They're not going to tie themselves
Which
up.
is a losing way of playing baseball.
And they've gone to the playoffs 11 times in 122 years. I
Exactly.
mean, we kind of know that. They're at Texas on the 1st, and then they'll return on the 7th against New York. They play against Cleveland on the 30th and have a 4-game set from the 27th to the 30th, and then they got Cleveland after the Texas from the 4th to the 6th at Cleveland. That's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. We'll be joining you tomorrow for a CHGO White Sox post-game show covering both double headers, or covering the doubleheader tomorrow.
There's not 4 games, are there?
not
Oh,
4
my
games.
goodness.
Lance
Vinny's been at the
Lynn's starting.
ballpark already too early.
Lance Lynn's starting 2.
Clubhouse opens in 15 minutes.
Lance Lynn's starting 2 games tomorrow. Lance
He
Lynn's
would do it.
Starting game 1, game 2 is TBD, but maybe Touki Toussaint is what I've heard.
Maybe. Well,
okay.
it could be Toussaint. It could be Tanner Banks. It could be Jesse Schulten. So that seems to be the way that Pedro's been rolling it out there. So.
I saw someone say it could be Kikuchi versus Touki, which I like the E's and the K's.
It rhymes.
A lot of fun. Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah.
And then Lance Lynn versus likely Jose Barrios. He was supposed to start today, so we'll see if that maintains for the
I have
pitchers
it.
or not.
I have Toronto.
The
starters.
last time I went to a game where Mr. Barrios pitched in a doubleheader at guarantee rate, they walked him off.
That was a 7-inning game.
It was a 7-inning game.
Gavin Sheets.
Gavin Sheets.
Barrios is facing Lynn in game 1.
Okay.
And it's Kikuchi versus TBD for game 2.
And that was game 2 the time I saw it. He's only pitching game 1. So we can't walk him off this year. I mean, he can if he pitches 9 innings, which would be very weird. Be 0-0, then no 1 off.
Jordan Lyles threw a complete game, and they still lost. But yeah, Touki. Hopefully, I'm rooting for Touki in game 2 because Kikuchi versus Touki would be fun. Anyways, that's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. That's Vinnie Duber. Follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer, and you can read his 2 brand new articles up at ALLCITY talking about Rick Hahn and what he had to say. The quote, reason to believe, and Vinnie goes more in depth on that subject, giving you more color. There's also the Luis Robert Jr. Article talking about his 180 to join the Home Run Derby this year. And Jared Willis was also at the park yesterday. You can follow him on Twitter at JWillis, Y's instead of I's, and he had an article on Oscar Colas as well. So make sure you read that and his return to the big league club. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter at ActonWall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Thank you to everybody for watching. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Go Sox.